HOA fined me for fishing, so I bought the lake and banned the entire neighborhood. My name is Mike Peterson, and I never thought I'd own a lake. Especially not out of spite. It all started on a peaceful Sunday morning last summer. I had just moved into Sunny Pines, a fancy neighborhood with perfect lawns, matching mailboxes, and unfortunately, a homeowners association, HOA, run by Mrs. Gladys Winters, a woman who treated rules like they were more important than oxygen. I'm a simple guy who enjoys simple things. After a stressful week at my accounting job, all I wanted was to sit by the small lake behind my new house, feel the morning sun on my face and catch a few fish. The lake was beautiful, crystal clear water surrounded by tall trees and colorful flowers. The real estate agent had mentioned it was a community amenity, which was part of why I bought the house. That first Sunday, I woke up early, grabbed my favorite fishing rod, a small cooler with some drinks, and headed to the lake. The morning was perfect, birds singing, a light breeze, and not another soul in sight. I found a nice spot, cast my line, and felt the stress melt away. Until I heard someone clearing their throat loudly behind me. "Excuse me. What exactly do you think you're doing?" I turned to see a short woman with perfectly styled gray hair and a clipboard. She wore a blue blazer with a shiny HOA president pin, despite it being barely 7 a.m. on a weekend. "Good morning," I smiled. "Just doing a bit of fishing." Mrs. Winters' face twisted like I'd said something offensive. Fishing is strictly prohibited in Sunny Pines Lake. It's on page 37, section 4, paragraph 2 of the HOA bylaws. I blinked in confusion. But the real estate agent said the lake was for residents to enjoy. Enjoying means looking at it, young man. Not disturbing the ecosystem. She pulled out her phone and took several photos of me with my fishing rod. "This will be a $150 fine. Expect the notice by Wednesday." Before I could argue, she marched away, muttering about new residents and rule breakers. I was furious. $150 for fishing in a lake that I was told I could use? I packed up my things and went home, determined to check those bylaws. Sure enough, buried in the 87-page document was a tiny paragraph about no fishing, swimming, or boating in the lake. But something else caught my eye. The lake wasn't actually HOA property. It was listed as adjacent private property that the neighborhood had an aesthetic enjoyment agreement with. This got me curious. Who owned the lake? After some research at the county records office the next day, I discovered it belonged to an elderly man who had passed away 6 months ago. His children lived across the country and had listed it for sale with a local real estate company. The price was high, $175,000 for essentially a large pond and the land around it. But I had recently received an inheritance from my grandfather, which I had been saving for something special. Was revenge against an unfair HOA something special? Absolutely. Without telling anyone, I contacted the real estate company and made an offer. After some negotiation, the lake was mine 3 weeks later. I didn't tell a soul in the neighborhood. The following Sunday, I went fishing again. As expected, Mrs. Winters appeared within 30 minutes. "Mr. Peterson, you've already been fined once. This is deliberate defiance," she shouted, marching toward me with her clipboard raised like a weapon. I smiled calmly. "Good morning, Mrs. Winters. Lovely day, isn't it? Did you not understand the rules? No fishing in the community lake." That's when I pulled out my folder of documents. "Actually, Mrs. Winters, I'd like to clarify something. This isn't the community lake anymore." Her face scrunched up in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "I bought it 3 weeks ago. This is now private property, my property." I handed her the deed and ownership papers. "And as the owner, I'm afraid I have to inform you that you're trespassing." The color drained from her face as she examined the documents. This is impossible." "It's very possible. And legal." I stood up, reeling in my line. "Now, as the lake's owner, I've decided to implement some new rules. Rule number 1, no access to residents of Sunny Pines Homeowners Association, except for me, of course, since I live there. You can't do this. The lake is part of our community's charm. Our houses face it. It's part of our property values." She was practically shaking. "It's interesting how quickly rules become unfair when they affect you, isn't it, Mrs. Winters?" I said. "The HOA has an aesthetic enjoyment agreement with the lake's owner. I'm the owner now and I'm changing the terms. You can look at the lake from a distance, but no one from Sunny Pines can set foot on my property." I spent the next weekend putting up private property and no trespassing signs all around the lake. I also hired a part-time security guard to patrol on weekends when residents were most likely to try using the lake. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from angry neighbors. My email inbox flooded with messages. Someone even left a strongly worded letter taped to my garage door. The HOA called an emergency meeting, which I attended with a calm smile and my property documents. Mrs. Winters tried to argue that what I was doing was against the spirit of the community, but my lawyer, yes, I brought one, politely explained that legally, I could do whatever I wanted with my property. But the 4th of July picnic is always at the lake, one resident complained. And the Easter egg hunt, said another. My kids swim there every summer, a father added. I stood up. I understand this is upsetting. But when I moved here and tried to enjoy the lake in my own quiet way by fishing, which harms no one, I was fined and treated like a criminal. Rules are rules, right, Mrs. Winters? The room fell silent. Then people began looking at Mrs. Winters and the other HOA board members. After 2 weeks of community chaos, a delegation of residents came to my house. Not the HOA board, but regular neighbors who had been caught in the crossfire of my revenge. They asked if we could work something out. Look, most of us didn't even know about the fishing rule, said Tom from 3 doors down. It's one of those stupid rules nobody follows or enforces except Mrs. Winters, I finished for him. Exactly. We want to enjoy the lake too, and most of us don't care if someone fishes there. This got me thinking. Maybe my revenge against the HOA had gone too far. The whole neighborhood shouldn't suffer because of one power-hungry HOA president. I have a proposal, I told them. I'll create a lake enjoyment club. Anyone can join for $1 per year, which makes it official and legal. Members can fish, swim, have picnics within reason. No loud parties after 10 p.m., no littering, basic common sense rules. And the catch? Tom asked suspiciously. HOA board members can only join if they revise the unreasonable rules in the bylaws and reduce the fine structure. And Mrs. Winters needs to publicly apologize for her selective enforcement. Word spread quickly. Within days, residents were pressuring the HOA board to accept my terms. Facing a neighborhood rebellion, they agreed to review the bylaws. Mrs. Winters resisted at first, but when 3 board members threatened to resign, she reluctantly agreed to my terms. At the next HOA meeting, Mrs. Winters read a stiff but sufficient apology. The board presented a revised, much shorter set of bylaws with reasonable rules and smaller fines for actual problems like not maintaining property. The Lake Enjoyment Club became a hit. Neighbors I never knew existed introduced themselves and thanked me. Families enjoyed swimming and picnics. A few residents even joined me for fishing lessons. A month later, I was surprised when Mrs. Winters herself came to my door. She looked uncomfortable but determined. Mr. Peterson, I've come to personally apologize. Not the public one I was forced to give. She took a deep breath. I've been running the HOA for 15 years and somewhere along the way, I forgot these rules were meant to help people enjoy their homes, not control them. I invited her in for coffee, and we had a surprisingly honest conversation. She admitted that after her husband died, the HOA gave her purpose and structure. She didn't realize how inflexible she'd become. Would you consider joining the Lake Enjoyment Club? I asked. I hear you were quite the fisherwoman in your younger days. She looked shocked. How did you know that? Tom mentioned your late husband had a collection of fishing photos with you holding some impressive catches. For the first time I saw her smile genuinely. Charlie loved fishing. We used to go every weekend before. The next Sunday, to everyone's surprise, Mrs. Winters joined me at the lake with her own fishing rod, her late husband's, she explained. We didn't catch much, but watching the former HOA tyrant relax and laugh was worth more than any revenge. Today the lake is still technically mine, but it belongs to the community in all the ways that matter. The HOA still exists but focuses on important issues instead of petty rule enforcement. And me? I fish every Sunday, sometimes alone, sometimes with neighbors, and often with Mrs. Winters, who turns out to have the best fishing stories in the neighborhood. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about making things better for everyone. Even if it takes buying a lake to teach that lesson.